I never thought a Friday night in my garage would end with the HOA president being read her Miranda rights under flashing red and blue lights. I never thought my quiet fishing buddy would turn out to be an FBI agent. And I sure as hell never thought the entire neighborhood would watch the Queen of Silver Hollow Estates crumble like a paper crown in the rain. But that's exactly what happened. It started simple enough, or at least it should have been. I had just come back from a long day of fishing with Matt, my best friend. The smell of motor oil and the metallic clink of tools always calmed me down, especially after a week full of engineering deadlines. At 38, I'd come to appreciate the comfort of my garage, that little sanctuary where time slowed down. My mother, Irene, was inside, probably making tea, and for a moment I felt like life was quiet, predictable, almost good. Until Karen showed up. Now, Karen Malberry wasn't just any neighbor. She was the self-appointed dictator of Silver Hollow Estates, the kind of woman who could turn a garden hose left on the wrong side of a fence into a federal case. Blonde bob, pink blazer clipboard, always the clipboard. She didn't just enforce HOA rules, she weaponized them. Last month, she fined my 70-year-old mother $500 for planting sunflowers by the fence. Sunflowers, and when my mom tried to contest it, Karen dismissed her like she was swatting a fly. That was the day I realized Karen wasn't just annoying, she was dangerous. So when she came strutting down the street that night, heels clicking like a damn metronome of doom, I knew trouble was brewing. 3 violations, she announced, waving her clipboard. 3 separate times this man has broken parking regulations. She was talking about Matt, who at that moment was calmly putting away his fishing rods like he hadn't just been accused of running a crime syndicate. I tried to keep my voice steady. He's my guest, Karen, and this I gestured to the driveway as private property. Her eyes lit up like she'd caught me in a trap she'd been setting for weeks. She pulled out her phone with theatrical precision and started taking pictures, license plate, angle of the truck, even the fishing gear. Private property within a governed community, she shot back her voice sharp enough to cut through bone. I have documented evidence of suspicious activity. Suspicious activity. The man had a tackle box, not a crowbar. But Karen wasn't done. Her phone was already at her ear, her voice dripping with fake urgency. Yes, 911, I need to report suspicious activity. Possible burglary, surveillance of garages. I feel unsafe. The word burglary hit me in the gut. My palms went clammy. Suddenly, it didn't matter that Matt was my friend or that he was standing right there, calm as a lake. In that moment, I believed she might actually get him arrested. And worse, me too. When the sirens wailed in the distance, I wanted to melt into the concrete. I could see my mother peeking through the curtains, her face tense with worry. Neighbors started coming out, phones ready to record the drama. And I hated it. I hated how powerless I felt, how easily Karen twisted the truth into a weapon. A part of me even wondered, was I wrong? Was I really breaking the rules, putting everyone in this position? Maybe I should have just followed her damn regulations, stupid as they were. For a moment, I wanted to give in. Let the cops sort it out. Maybe Karen was right. Maybe I was the problem. That shame, that doubt, it clawed at me until I could barely breathe. But then I looked at Matt. He wasn't panicked. He wasn't angry. He was calm, too calm. He looked at me and said quietly, "Logan, you trust me, right? No matter what happens next." I didn't even get to answer. The police cruiser pulled up, lights painting the street like a war zone. Officer Thompson stepped out, young but serious, and Karen pounced on him like a prosecutor with her star witness. She handed him a folder full of notes and photos. "This man has been surveilling the community," she declared, her voice ringing with triumph. "I've documented everything." The officer flipped through her so-called evidence, his face tightening. My stomach dropped. This wasn't just some neighborly spat anymore. This was about to get very real, very fast. "Sir, step away from the vehicle," Thompson ordered Matt. His hand hovered near his belt, ready for anything. My heart sank. I opened my mouth to defend Matt, but the words sounded hollow even to me. "He's just my friend," I stammered. "We fish together. He's not a criminal." But Karen had already poisoned the well. Of course I'd say that. Of course I'd cover for him. I thought this was it. That Matt was about to be cuffed in my driveway while my mother watched from the porch. Then Matt did something I'll never forget. With steady hands, he reached into his jacket. "Officer, I'm going to retrieve my identification," he said calmly, like he'd rehearsed it 1,000 times. "I'll move slowly so you can see." He pulled out a leather case, flipped it open, and held it out. The badge gleamed under the streetlight. Even from where I stood, I could read the words Federal Bureau of Investigation. Special Agent Matthew Blackwell. Time stopped. Thompson froze posture, shifting from suspicion to respect in an instant. Karen's face drained of color, her mouth falling open. She clutched her clipboard like a shield, suddenly the smallest person on the street. Matt's voice changed then, deeper, colder. "Mrs. Malberry," he said, "we need to talk about the financial management of this homeowners association." Her eyes darted panic flashing across her face. "What does the HOA have to do with this?" Matt didn't flinch. He laid it out right there in my driveway, $2.4 million siphoned off through a fake company in Florida transactions that led back to Karen's own son. Months of investigation. Recorded conversations. A web of fraud hidden behind landscaping projects that never happened. I could barely process it. My fishing buddy, my calm garage companion, he'd been here all along as a federal agent, and my complaints about Karen. They weren't just rants, they'd been evidence. Karen's world crumbled in real time. Neighbors gasped, whispered phones lifted higher to catch every second. My mother stepped forward, her voice trembling but strong. 30 years I've lived here, and never have I seen anyone bring more shame to this community than you, Karen Malberry. It was like pulling a pin from a grenade. One by one, neighbors stepped up voicing their own stories. Unfair fines denied, repairs, constant harassment. Mrs. Patterson shouted about her sunflowers. Mr. Whitaker told how Karen forced him to repaint his house 4 times in 8 months. Jake and Emma, the young couple on the corner, said she fined them for letting Emma's parents stay too long. Every word was another nail in Karen's coffin, and for once she had no power to stop it. Matt's voice cut through the noise, calm but commanding. "Mrs. Malberry, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used in federal court." The Miranda rights echoed across the street, sealing her downfall. Karen's knees buckled, her clipboard slipping from her grasp. She looked around, desperate for support, but all she saw were angry faces, betrayed neighbors, and flashing phone cameras. And then the officers stepped in. Karen was no longer the queen of Silver Hollow Estates. She was a criminal exposed in front of the very people she'd ruled over. I stood there, still reeling, watching the most powerful woman in our neighborhood led away in handcuffs. My mother's eyes met mine, filled with something I hadn't seen in years: relief. The woman who had terrorized us with fines and threats, who had turned a peaceful community into her personal kingdom, had finally been dragged off her throne. And in that moment, I realized something I should have known all along: tyrants only win when good people stay silent.